Welcome to the Left of Str8 Show, your one-stop destination for intriguing conversations with extraordinary individuals who are boldly navigating life outside the conventional norms. Our host, Scott Fullerton, is thrilled to embark on this journey of discovery with all of you. The Left of Str8 Show, we believe that every person's story is unique, and it's our mission to showcase the diversity of human experiences. We bring you the untold stories of fascinating people who identify as LGBT+ and allies, pushing boundaries, breaking stereotypes, and making a positive impact in our communities. On this show, we bring you a diverse lineup of inspiring guests, from activists to artists, and entrepreneurs to entertainers, and everything in between. We dive deep into their personal journeys, discovering the pivotal moment that has shaped their lives and careers. You can expect thought-provoking discussions on a wide range of topics, from LGBTQ rights, social justice to arts, culture, mental health, and more. Our guests are change makers who share their insights, challenges, and triumphs, igniting conversation that promotes empathy, understanding, and love. So whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or an ally looking to expand your knowledge and show your support, the Left of Str8 Show is for you. Together, we can build bridges of understanding and acceptance, celebrating the beauty of what makes us all unique. So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for the show.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Left of Str8 Show, your go-to podcast for engaging conversations with fascinating celebrities and personalities in our LGBTQ community and, of course, our straight allies. I'm your host, Scott Fullerton, and I love to share with you some of my passions: entertainment, foodies, books, music, and advocacy. Today, I have the pleasure of having the incredibly talented Zara joining me in studio. Mike is not only a prominent television writer, but also the visionary founder of Toy Stories with a Z, not Liza with an S, in a company that undoubtedly adds a unique touch to the entertainment industry. Mike's had his hands on some of my favorite things: television, Christmas time, toys, and of course, he's met Kristin Chenoweth, maybe, so we're going to talk about that. He's also a great guest doing spooky season here with his fun take on combining the horror and Christmas themes with the amazing movie he wrote, Letters to Satan Claus. Mike loves telling poppy, character-driven stories that are female and queer-focused, along with working in various genres, including animation, drama, horror, procedural, musical, and even the young adult genre. I'm excited to talk to him on the Left of Str8 Show for the very first time. Please welcome the handsome and talented Mr. Mike Zara is on studio. How are we doing, Mike?
Good, thank you. Yeah, that was a very, very nice intro.
Well, you've done many of my favorite things. I appreciate you being on, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
How is everything in beautiful downtown sunny California? You don't have to be on the picket line every day these days, so that's got to be a little nicer to be inside.
Yeah, it's we finally have fall. It was windy last night and not hot for once in 8 months. So no, it was very nice. And yeah, I mean, whenever this airs, hopefully the writer's strike, the actor's strike will be over. But yeah, didn't get some great news today. So they kind of left the table. So for the AMC.
Yeah, I read that. They kind of they're being. I mean, that whole it's just been a crazy thing, and it's I can't believe they walked away. I mean, you guys are not asking for much. The actors are not asking for much. I mean, it's just like it was with the writers. You guys had negotiated your last contract so long ago. A lot of these new things that are involved in the entertainment industry weren't even alive to put into a contract back then, right?
Really? Yeah, exactly.
So crazy. I always like to ask two questions to my virgins on the show here. Sure. First one, I always like to get a little bit of background. Tell me about where you grew up and what kind of a kid were you?
I am from Arizona originally. I kind of bopped around. Phoenix is kind of like Los Angeles, where there's all these different neighborhoods and cities within the city. But I grew up in Tempe and then had my high school years in Scottsdale. And yeah, I was a, gay kid that loved musicals and Gem and the Holograms and was teased constantly, the the old story. And
Right.
yeah, kind of always was sort of, a little left of center and different, and um, you know, tried to conform and tried to, I had a hard time with that. I did not fool anybody really. So what I kind of did was, you know, I had to kind of come to terms with my sexuality, and I came out at 16 in high school, and I was the only kid back then that was out. And for me, that kind of made so much of it better. The
Mm.
teasing was less. I kind of owned it, and that seemed to kind of help, because when somebody tells you you're gay or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I know what is the, you kind of take a power away a little bit. But yeah, that's my story. Yeah, Arizona, born and raised, and got out of there as soon as I could. So
Very familiar to all of us, even the same verb. That's why I call this show Left of Str8. Same thing, kind of a little different than most, but I definitely came from the same kind of background. Now, as far as the writing goes, were you encouraged as a kid? Were you a creative writer in school? Where did the writing come from?
yeah, no, what's funny is I've always loved television. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and so the characters on TV were my friends. And I loved Beverly Hills 90210, the original show, as a kid, and would write Jenny Garth fan mail and all those things. And that was my 90210. 90210 was what I wanted. I wanted to be friends with them, even though I was much younger. I wanted to look like them. And I always wanted to move to LA. And I didn't know what was going to happen there. I didn't know what was, going to be my job. And then I started to do theater in, I think I started theater. Well, I did theater like in church and stuff. And then I got into it, in grade school, and then, did the musicals in high school and stuff like that. So I moved to LA thinking I was going to be an actor. And I always said that, I always say this, that acting is the gateway drug in Hollywood. Um,
Right.
and I really I really found writing late. I found it in my early to mid 20s, because I kind of fell out of love with acting, and I was frustrated. The stuff that I wasn't booking a ton, but the stuff that I was booking, I just didn't it didn't resonate with me, and I didn't really understand what the writers or directors were trying to tell, like what stories they were trying to tell. And so I just started to write then. But honestly, I mean, if you're asking about my childhood and creative writing, I mean, what I did do a lot of, because I didn't have a lot of friends except for Jenny Garth on TV, I would take Barbies, which I kind of wasn't allowed to have, but I had sisters, so I had access to them, and I would make movies with the Barbies with my video camera. And so basically that was my first, foray into storytelling. So I guess I've been doing it all my life, but I didn't realize it.
Oh, I love that. That's a great way to put it. And you say you came out at 16. Second question I always ask is when did you come out to yourself? And when did you kind of feel you found your LGBTQ tribe? Was that in the acting community in LA, or where did you find that?
Okay. Yeah, these are good. I from an early age, I knew that I was different and that I liked boys. But there was a religious element. It wasn't super hardcore in my family at all like that. But I when you're going through puberty and all that stuff and struggling with that, and then I transferred to because I was getting bullied at my junior high, which was public school. I transferred to a private Christian school where
Mm.
a couple of my friends went, and that actually was worse because
Oh,
there was so much, it was a very kind of hateful place, and in terms of like other religions and, you know, anti-abortion and like stuff like that. And so it kind of compounded things for me, and it was a real struggle. So I think probably, I don't know, maybe I would have come out earlier had I had I stayed in public school, and not dealt with the religious thing, because I became pretty Christian there, and it was kind of like a way for me to, like, I don't know, squash down those feelings. But I always knew, and I knew that I knew that there was no way I was going to change, really. I mean, I think I prayed to Jesus, you know, for a while, but, you know, that never happened. So I think probably 15 years old, I was more comfortable with myself. Definitely 16 was absolutely ripped the Band-Aid off, but 15 for sure. That something, I mean, I'm very open about my life and the tragedies and things that have happened. But when I was 15, my older sister was killed in a car accident, and that really kind of, thanks. That really, I think, just kind of opened my mind to really look at things and know that life was so short, and because she was only 19. So I really was like, what is the point of just not living the truth, you know, that I am, you know, the truth that is just me being a gay person. So yeah, that was that. And then in terms of tribe, are you talking about like just people that were accepting, or just like gay people, like a gay
In general, kind of both. Yeah, when you kind of first felt probably more with gay people and being accepted and just kind of finding your own tribe of people to hang out with, talk to about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say I had really wonderful girlfriends in high school that were straight, but very supportive and kind of protected me from some of the bullying and stuff. And there were some straight guys that I was friends with, you know, that kind of became my protectors too. And I protected myself. But I will say, like, my friendships in high school really did help. They supported me. And then a gay tribe here, you know, it has taken me a long, long time, I think, to really find my tribe. It's a small tribe. When I was 20 years, I moved here when I was 19. So when I was young, I didn't have the best friends. They were very superficial and kind of mean gays a little bit. And so it really took me a long time to find my tribe. But I have some wonderful friends, some gay friends that are just super, just lovely, good people. And yeah, it took it took like 15, 20 years. So
It happens. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, especially in the entertainment industry, that first couple of years, you got to get to learning, and a lot of people have not learned this, to be happy for other people's successes, and it doesn't mean that you're not a success, right? So in the entertainment industry, a lot of people are kind of one-upsmanship, and you're kind of living your life for what your friends are doing, and
yeah,
it takes a while to kind of learn that, just to find a tribe. That was for me too, just to find a tribe that were equals, that were just supportive. A lot
yeah,
of people kind of have an ulterior motive, it almost seems.
yeah. And a lot of my, you know, like, super good gay friends aren't even in the industry. They're, you know, they're not even in Hollywood, really. They're sort of like in LA, but doing different. A lot of them are creative, but they're not in Hollywood. I like to have a
Right.
mixture of both because I need people to relate to like what I'm going through and the struggles of just trying to make a living being creative, especially when there's a strike and a pandemic and all that. But yeah, I think it's good to have a balance of both.
Very well said. I like that. Well, let's start getting into your career a bit. You've done some great things I want to chat about.
Sure.
Was either what was your first writing gig? I know you were assistant writing some things. How did you get that first gig?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you about how I got into like the writing, a writer's room, because that's kind of what I worked my way up. So I started, the first job I ever had as a writer's assistant was on a show called GCB with Kristin Chenoweth. Good Christian Bitches
Yes.
is what it should have been called, but then it was called Good Christian Bells and then just GCB, which nobody knew what that was. But I basically was in the fashion industry. I had quit acting and started working for a friend, helping him with his fashion brand. And at 31, I decided that I've always, wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Knew at that point I definitely wanted to be a writer on TV, and I was writing all these short films and stuff, but I had no access to these shows except for I got us on all of the jewelry and fashion brand. I got us on Gossip Girl. I got us on the 90210 reboot. I got us on True Blood. And that was my way of like trying to keep with Hollywood. But
Right.
at 31, I left that job and became an intern. And this is how full circle life is for Darren Star, who created Beverly Hills 90210. And I basically had to borrow money from my dad and just do this internship. And this was right before the Black Swan fiasco of interns where people, were suing because they weren't getting paid. So luckily that was before that. So I had this free internship, and basically the showrunners of GCB thought I was like an executive assistant. And I told them that I wasn't and that I was trying to get into a writer's room. And they basically took me under their wing and brought me into GCB. And that started basically, my trajectory to becoming a TV writer. And it was GCB. And then that got canceled. And then I followed one of our writers to the client list, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt. And then that ended. And then I went to Major Crimes. And that's where everything changed. And I was able to prove myself and impress my boss, James Duff. And he gave me a freelance episode. And then the following year, I was a staffed writer and then wrote on the show until we were canceled. So that's the story.
I think that's so cool. It's one of my favorite shows. I mean, I saw both the previous show with Kyra Sedgwick, The Closer, and Major Crimes. And I think it did have, Major Crimes had one of the best well-written gay storylines with the Rusty character and everything. I mean, it just an amazing storyline that went all the way through. It never really disappointed, I don't think. I just really enjoyed that. So congratulations on you being part of that team.
Thank you.
And I saw it was a progression, like assistant writing the first or second season, and then, like you said, up to story editing and everything like that. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was. I will say James Duff, who was the creator of The Closer and Major Crimes. He, if he believes in somebody, he really supports you, and he did. And he, there were a couple of assistants in that room while I was there, and we've all now become writers on TV. And one of the assistants she's now show running her first show. So yeah, it was a great experience. And yeah, the Rusty character for me was, I was the younger gay guy in the room, not as young as Rusty, but I tend to write younger characters anyway. And so I always really loved, pitching on that character. And, I got to have a kiss with Rusty and one of his boyfriend in one of my episodes. So that was fun. And actually the first episode I ever wrote, which I co-wrote with my friend Leo Jeter, that was a gay centric storyline about a gay hustler that was thrown off a roof. And basically it was all about, a man being closeted and not being able to kind of deal with his feelings and sort of lashing out at his lover, who kind of was living out loud. So yeah, it's one of those things where like I don't know if I'll ever have a Major Crimes, experience again, because I was there for 5 years. I mean, and that's a lifetime in television.
Yeah, and like I said, and the show had a little bit of everything. It had great drama, it had comedy, it had the entire 9 yards. So it really did the gamut, which is why I think it was so successful. I mean, a lot of times you get one of these spin-offs or something that don't make it past a season or two, right? But this was so well written. The characters were so well played. Now, as a writer in these things, how much interaction do you have or input do you have from the actors that are doing these words? Did you ever have much with any of these 3 series, with GCB or with Love Hewitts or anything? Or
with those shows, I was an assistant, so I wasn't really on set. I would be at the table reads and stuff, and yeah, GCB was just so much fun to be in those table reads because you had Kristin Chenoweth, you had Annie Potts, and we had some just fantastic guest actors, and it was so much fun to be in those read-throughs.
I'm a huge Mark Declan fan and Eric Winter. I love Witches of East End. I'm a Christmas movie fiend. So
yeah, no, Witches of East End. Daniel D. Tomaso, when he joined Major Crimes, I was like, oh, I love the show. I totally geeked out, and he's the loveliest person. But no, Major Crimes, I mean, I produced all my episodes, so which means that I was on the floor on set for all of filming. So yeah, you're interacting with the actors a lot. And our writer's room was basically in a building just like a few steps away from set. So there was a lot of interacting. That's a really good family. And I just texted Daniel and Kieran Giovanni and Graham, who played Rusty, and Daniel, actually, because I want to support them with the strike and picket with them again.
Right.
I organized a little Major Crimes reunion when we were still on strike, and that was just so much fun. But yeah, that's like a real family.
I bet. Oh, I love that. Now, was GW, was he as funny off camera as he is on camera? He plays so many. A lot of people that are really funny on camera are very shy and recluse outside. Is he just as much fun?
That man is not shy. GW Bailey is. I miss him. I adore him. I would say he's very similar to Provenza. He's just, he's just such a character, and he's funny and charming, and yeah, he's great. And I don't think a lot of people know this. He was one of James Duff's acting teachers when he was like a kid. And so
really?
Yeah. And so obviously GW had success with Police Academy and all of these things. But like, it was kind of like James getting to hire him for his series on The Closer, talk about another full circle thing. But yeah, GW, I miss him. I really do.
He did such a great job. I mean, of course, I saw him for some Mannequin and so many other things he did before, where he's just so manic. And this, he was still had the comedy, but he toned it down for the work as well. I just loved his character. And honestly, I think the Major Crimes was the first time I came across Jonathan Del Arco, who played the forensic guy. I mean, I don't know if he was on much before that or not, but
yeah, he was on The Closer, and yeah.
Yeah, excellent cast. Good on you for that.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Let's start talking about some of your own things. Like I said, I am a huge Christmas movie nerd, and you go and write a mashup of Christmas and horror. We're in the spooky season now. It's in October. So Letters to Satan, Claus, back. I mean, just hilarious stuff. Talk about how that came to you.
Sure. I had in Hollywood, when you're a writer, you have general meetings with different executives from, different studios or different networks. And, my resume is full of major crimes. Like, that's a procedural. So a lot of people don't see me as somebody that writes horror, but I do. And I've always been a horror fan. And I had a general at Sci-Fi and just really clicked with the executive. And we were trying to figure out something to do together. And I was home one night at like 11:30 and watching a Hallmark Christmas movie, as one does. And I just started to think about it because it was dark and kind of creepy out. I was like, why hasn't there been a spoof of all the Hallmark Christmas movies, in the horror space? And so I started to think about it. I started to watch more of them. I mean, I would, this would happen. Like, I would turn on the TV and then, 2 hours later, I'd be still watching this Christmas movie. So I basically just started to like binge them, and then kind of took them all and put them in a pot and stirred it up and kind of created this stew of Christmas tropes of these movies. And yeah, I just wrote this executive and said, I have this idea, and basically sent him like a 6-page document, and then we talked on the phone once, and then he was basically like, what's like the hook? Because I was kind of doing it as like, there was a serial killer, killing all these people at this, in this like super Christmassy town. He's like, what's sort of like the hook? I think originally I called it A Very Murdery Christmas. But murdery is one of my favorite words. It's not real. But and then I started to think about Satan and then Santa, and then that's what it was. I was like, okay, it's letters to Satan Claus, and then that was it. And then then I got paid to write an outline and a script, and then it started shooting like 2 months later. It was insane. It's like,
Those
again,
things go fast. I am a Hallmark movie huge fan. I don't know how Sci-Fi Channel works, but I know how Hallmark it was. Those things are planned jillion years in advance, and then they're shot in 2 seconds and greenlit in 2 seconds. So
yeah, no, it was very fast. And, as a writer, when you sell stuff and it doesn't go, or like, what I mean, you never see it, like for something to actually get made that was an original idea as well, is like, that's a Christmas miracle in itself. So
there you go.
It's silly and stupid, and I'm very happy that it happened, and love it, and love that cast. And yeah, it was great.
I think it's a perfect pitch. Like you said, I don't remember seeing it done before. Like, I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan of Christmas movies. I dabble in horror a little bit. I don't watch too much horror, but I kind of follow along just for entertainment in general. And it really has not been done before. I think that's great. You see it in a lot of other combined genres.
Right.
And then you get to go on and write another horror style and direct this one. You have Possessed. You're bringing Kieran Giovanni, I loved her character in Major Crimes. I saw Natalie was on there a couple of times, so you probably knew her from there. Talk about what brought this script together.
Sure. Well, thank you for bringing this up. Yeah, this was at, this was in 2020. Like, nothing was going on. I was kind of in a transitional period of my life. I had ended a very long-term relationship and was kind of on my own for the first time in a very, very long time, and was really unsure about the industry. Like, it was so quiet and scary. And this is what I kind of always do, is like, I just kind of create things on my own and somehow make it. And I wanted to show that I could direct something, because again, I'm known as a writer, and I wanted to just have complete control. So I'd written I dabbled in pop music. One of my good friends, who I don't know if you've ever had him on the show, he's wonderful and you should. His name's Mark Byers, aka Markaholic. He does a lot of music with RuPaul, like he wrote Kitty Girl, and he does a lot with Nina West and a lot of lovely drag queens. He's excellent. But when I was on I think I was still on Major Crimes, I was playing with this song that I couldn't get out of my head called Possessed, and basically about being so obsessed with somebody that they kind of take over your body. And so I kind of just, because I had the time during the pandemic, I kind of expanded on that and was like, okay, what if I made like a little sort of mini movie music video, kind of like Thriller, right? Where I use my song that I have and then do a little narrative, thing at the beginning and at the end. And that's kind of how it happened. And Natalie Lander, she's one of my best friends who sang it for me. And I actually met her before Major Crimes, but on another music video thing that I did, that was an original song that I did with Mark Byers. And I asked Kieran if she would do this little weird thing for me. And, she's such a pro and so talented and was game and just so great. She's such a good actor. And she's funny, and it was a fun way to like kind of show her sense of humor too, because she didn't get to do that as much on Major Crimes. But yeah, we shot it in early October in 2020. So it was like nobody was vaccinated. Like I had to get like a COVID expert and all this, stuff. I shot it at a friend's house, and yeah, we just made this little movie for a day, and yeah, I'm really proud of it, and it was really fun. And I premiered it at the Dances with Film Festival here in LA, and it was just a really cool experience. I have no idea if anything will ever happen with it or anything, beyond what did happen with it, but I'm proud of it, and it was a fun experience. And kind of it was all the things that I love: pop music, horror, like fashion, kind of campy. Like we have a Barbie mask in it from the 80s from my childhood. Like, so it was literally, that's, again, maybe I'm just like a soup maker. It was just like another soup that I just threw all the things that I love into one thing.
I love it. Well, like I said, I do a lot of research, everyone. I love looking into that and kind of going through. I have not had Mark on yet. You're going to have to introduce us, because I looked at his resume and he's done some amazing work with Rue and the World of Wonder People. Yeah.
He's
so definitely
the nicest,
very talented. And I just thought, what was it like to direct? Did you ever, I mean, it's a short, obviously, but is it something you would ever think about doing more longer form? Was it an enjoyable experience for you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, confidence has always been an issue of mine. Like, just in general, I'm a neurotic creative, but I really loved it. I think for me, there are just certain things that like are in my body that I'm like, okay, I could, like, scripts that I've written. There's a horror script that I wrote a long time ago that I kind of dusted off over the pandemic over the strike. And that's like something I absolutely feel like I know how to direct and I know how to do it. But there's certain things that I'm like, no, leave it to somebody else that really has a vision for that. But no, I think I'm, at the end of the day, a creator. And if that means getting to direct a little more, great. But I'm not going to, cry if I don't ever, get to do it again on a larger scale. If I have the money to like make another one of these, I will,
There you go. And like you said, you create your own work. So that's always, I mean, you have the ability to do it all. So that's always a great thing to have in your back pocket there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's go into Toy Stories. I had to gay it up with stories with a Z and not lies with an S because it's just fun.
Yeah.
But Toy Stories, Storiez. Honestly, it's why I wanted to have you on the show because it combines. I love toys. Toys is a big thing for me as well. I think being a lover of entertainment, I don't think people understand what product placement in movies and television is and what it can mean. So the business idea itself is brilliant.
Thanks.
Combining your loves like you've done before in the past, that's what kind of got me, hooked me into wanting to talk to you before I saw Major Crimes that went absolutely gaga. But let's talk about this. This is an amazing idea. Congratulations on it.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe again, back to the soup, just throw a couple Barbies in it. I've always loved toys, specifically Barbie and Gem and the Holograms when I was a kid, when I wasn't allowed to play with them. And again, the pandemic and the writer's strike, the last 3 years, basically, I've really done so much work on myself and really digging in and trying to figure out what I want to do and all of those things. And when it was quiet, even before the strike, I was trying to figure out, like, how do I bridge my world, like the TV writing, creative storytelling world, with the toy world. I thought about going back to school, and I met with Otis about getting a degree in toy design and all of that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be really old by the time this is all done. I'm like, and I've had a whole career. So maybe there's a way that, I can kind of come at it in a different way. For the last like 8 months, I won't say who, but I basically, because I'm a proactive guy, I make my own stuff. I joined LinkedIn, which is a totally different world for a TV writer. But I started reaching out to toy companies and saying, like, I just want to like meet with you guys and talk to you and see if there's any space for me here. And I met with a very big toy company and really clicked with them. And as it happens for me, I wake up one morning with this total idea, like fully fleshed out, like story, that could be in a fashion doll line and an animated series. And so basically I developed that with them for about 8 months exclusively, and they ultimately passed on it, which was frustrating, but also just more than anything a really good experience. And it kind of lit a fire in me that, like, I'm like, I love this. Like, I love the idea of having both of these worlds combined. So that's kind of where Toy Stories with a Z came about. I was like, I've taught, writing and all of these things. I'm like, maybe there's a way that I can consult with these toy companies, whether they're trying to flesh out their characters, because a lot of them are just created by either the toy designer, and they do have storytelling background. They don't necessarily have TV background, but building out their worlds and fleshing them out and expanding them, like, a play set, like, what does that world look like? And how do the characters interact with it? And then the other side of Toy Stories is finding brands that may not be the Mattels or the MGAs of the world, that don't know the entertainment industry, and sort of trying to teach them and also help shepherd them with their IP in translating it into TV and film. So that's kind of
a great idea. And you did it with fashion already once, right? You said you did some of your fashion.
No, I
placement.
did. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's weird. It's like, I guess it's all in there. You just, I didn't even think about that. But you're right. I did do that before, 15 years ago. Yeah, and I went to the New York Toy Fair last week, or a week and a half ago.
How was that?
It was fantastic. It was like I was a kid in a candy store, I definitely was nervous because I felt like an outsider, you know? I felt like, you know, like I said to, there was, you know, a big lunchroom, you know, and I sat down, just asked if I could sit with this woman. I'm like, this feels like high school all over again. It's like, you know what I mean? Even sit at the table with somebody and not knowing anybody. And I was definitely nervous that first day. And then I just, you know, I kind of went up to different booths and pitched myself. And I mean, that's what I do in my job anyway, is I'm constantly pitching pilots to different buyers. And so it was pretty natural. And, you know, it was interesting that some of them don't even really understand how the industry works. Like, they're like, yeah, we don't have the money for that. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly consulting's one thing, but like, if you were to develop a TV show based on your toy brand, your IP, somebody else is going to pay for it. You know what I mean? You're actually just going to benefit from it financially. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I actually I met a couple. I had a couple really good meetings, and then you know, there at the show, and then today before this I had a very good meeting with one of the toy companies, and we're probably going to work together. So I think I got my first client, which is cool.
Congratulations. That is awesome. I love hearing that.
I don't want to jinx it by saying it, but yeah, no, it felt very solid. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
I think it's a solid business plan. I think it has your strengths. Like I said, from what you've just during the interview, you've talked about it before. You're good at kind of getting those things together and making things work when it happens. So I think it's going to go great for you. That's awesome.
Thanks.
What else? We got to start wrapping it up here. What else? Anything on the horizon now that writer's strike is over? Anything you've kind of put some feelers out to you'd like to be considered for, or you just want to spend some time building your own company?
No, I mean, I just want to work. And yeah, the things are slowly coming back. You know, I'm hearing from my agents and managers, like, things that I'm up for and all that. And you just never know. I mean, and that's why kind of the Toy Stories idea is, you know, why I've really leaned into it, because there's more control, you know, when you're a hired hand, like, you really don't have any input. And when you get the job, it's fantastic, but you just never know. But so yeah, I'm doing a lot of, you know, the Toy Story stuff, but also I got the book rights to this novel from my childhood called Prom Dress, which is about a cursed prom dress that makes you do bad things. And I wrote that with this Australian filmmaker named Nick Verso, who has a new show on Hulu that just started airing. It's called Crazy Fun Park, and it's like kind of a YA spooky queer adjacent show
Nice.
from Australia. But yeah, we have that written, and, you know, trying to find the right home for it. And like I said, I have my other horror script that I'm trying to get set up somewhere that I would love to direct it if I can. But yeah, it's just me still pounding the pavement and excited and open to whatever happens next.
That's the way entertainment goes, my friend. And you just got to keep plugging, and you're doing an amazing job. Mike, Zara, thanks for coming to Left of Str8 Show today. Absolutely so much fun talking to you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to staying in touch and seeing some of these projects just go through the roof. Let all my listeners know where they can find you on social media and where they can find Toy Stories.
Oh, sure. So I am no longer on Twitter, but I am on Instagram, and it's Zara Shots. Z like zebra, ARA, S as in Sam, HOTS. And it's not tequila shots, it's like pictures, because that's what Instagram originally was. But yeah, you can find me there. And then Toy Stories is just www.toystories.com.
There you go. If you guys have some amazing ideas for a great toy that'll make a great film, Mike's the guy that's going to turn into a conception for you. I appreciate that. Well, Mike, thanks so much again for being on the Left of Str8 Show. Stay on the line. We're going to play 5 questions with Mike next week. Be sure to look for that on Tuesday. And we appreciate you tuning in to Left of Str8 Show. Have a great rest of your weekend. Spooky season is just about over. So have a happy Halloween next week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.